Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Super Subs Podcast. Your host, Harish and Narv. So today we'll do another Premier League roundup. It is game week, I guess, 22. Um, there were some pretty shocking results, but as always, we'll start with our Super Sub of the week. Narv, kick us off here.
Let's see. For mine, I will have to say the super sub um will be the midfielder who came on for Amadou Onana's injury in the Villa versus Arsenal game, and that is Lamar Bogarde,
Hmm.
um youngster who I'm not sure where he came from. He's only 21, but he had to come on for Onana, who was injured, and that's obviously a big loss in the midfield, but he slid right in and looked good. Uh, so it looks like I'm just looking at his career path and started off at Villa, but kind of been on loan at
Hmm.
Bristol Rovers. So just making that move is a big jump. Um, and he was looking really good in that midfield. Uh, Villa didn't really seem to miss Onana.
No, he was great. Definitely elevated the team, I thought, that game. And then I think that was was that his first like true appearance for the team?
I think he's had a few.
Okay,
Um, but I'm pretty sure that's like the most minutes he's gotten for sure.
gotcha. The only other one I remember was against, I think it was like Palace. He played for like 30
Yeah.
minutes, but
Hmm.
yeah, that's a good shout. My super sub is probably the most obvious pick. Darwin Núñez coming on for Liverpool, and it looked like the game was going to be done and dusted 0-0, but he grabbed a goal. First one, pretty simple finish, but he was in the right place. And then that second goal was an amazing finish. He probably could have left it for Salah, who would have slotted it just based on Salah's quality, but he was kind of took it himself and took that responsibility. Nice finish.
Needed those goals to get that
Yeah.
confidence boost.
Yeah, for those watching that game on the Peacock, I don't know how,
Trash.
yeah,
Trash.
we were watching, so we got to watch the Premier League this past weekend together, all the games. But we were livid because it was literally 30 seconds before the goal ended up going in, the stream froze, and I think it came back when they were celebrating, and we were like, okay, cool. Uh, well, we were upset because they were celebrating. We're like, shoot, we missed the goal, and then it froze again, and then it came back to them. Kind of showing the highlight, and we thought it was a highlight of the first goal, but it was like the second goal, right? Because
Yeah,
he scored like
exactly.
3 minutes after.
Hmm.
Uh, so if someone is listening that works for Peacock or is executive at Peacock, we need our money back for that weekend because that was one of the games of the week, I would say, and we missed an epic ending. But those are our super subs of the week. Let's move on to the first game of the day. I would say this was a shocking result. Um,
I thought this was going to be the game of the day for sure. Um,
yeah, I agree. There were a lot of like big games on Saturday, but yeah, this one supposed to I thought be very entertaining and a close matchup, but Bournemouth blew Newcastle out the water 4-1 with a Justin Kluivert hattie, a non-penalty hattie.
he's got to be
Um,
the first player in history to do that. I feel like I
the
need to do
penalty
research
hattie.
on this. Yeah. Penalty
Yeah.
Hattie and a non-open play Hattie.
And it's funny because he's scored coming into this game, what, like 8 goals? And I think
Yeah.
over half were like penalties.
Hmm.
But then he scored a hat trick. So we're gonna try to change up how we do these recaps a little. Which team do you want to talk about first? And let's go through kind of top through bottom, maybe some three sticking points from the team. So let's who do you want to start with?
We'll start with the winner, Bournemouth.
Bournemouth. Okay.
I'll say, yeah, Clivert, he was definitely deserved man of the match. 3 goals, and then he also had the assist. But again, that fourth goal by Kirkez, that was for a defender, crazy finish.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I thought Bournemouth was they were so dominant, um, which is surprising just because Newcastle at home, tough environment, the way they've been picking up form last couple weeks. Uh, you thought it'd be a really tough game, but yeah, I thought Bournemouth completely dominated. Um, Given like the injuries they had as well, like literally no one on the bench. Yet they still managed to like when Newcastle equalized, I thought Bournemouth might have been in trouble
Hmm.
if they had to resort to their bench, but yeah,
Because their
Bournemouth ran the show.
most experienced player on their bench was their goalkeeper, Travers. And then I think after that was Jebsen, who
Yeah,
ended up coming on, but he's made what, like three appearances in the league.
yeah, exactly.
But I think this also goes to show how adaptive Areola is and probably one of the top managers in the league. The way he was able to like move Atora, like even though he didn't have his best game, like he's not a striker, like he's a winger.
He's almost fun like a false nine. Like I felt bad for him, but he kind of had to sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly. But like even him, he was able to like make him adapt, and he
Hmm.
didn't look super out of place.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think I just have to give a shout out to Areola, just what he's done with this team, especially with like a bunch of no-namers, and then he's been able to literally, if you look at the starting lineup, I feel like he's improved every single player under him.
Yeah, especially Clivert being one. His career path's been pretty wild and Bournemouth, like a lot of people were like, ah, it's kind of like the downfall of him, but he's really made him one of like key pieces of this Bournemouth team.
Never forget when was it Mourinho that was he coaching United at the time? And after the game against Ajax was like, I'm gonna sign you. He's like, play one more season at Ajax and you're coming and
Yeah,
you're
yeah, that
that
was
was
Mourinho.
was that United days? Or was
I
that
I think that was after the Europa League.
Europa League? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Classic. But yeah, I mean, Cliver, he's kind of been reinvented over under Areola. Another player that really stuck out, I mean, Semenyo always sticks out, but um, I think Tyler Adams also went very under the radar. I don't know what it is, but he just adds a different intensity in that midfield for Bournemouth.
Yeah, and he kind of lets Ryan Christie kind of frees him up because Tyler Adams is so assured defensively. Um, he's kind of like a dog in that midfield,
Hmm.
really scrappy. Not because Newcastle, they got some big physical players in that midfield. So Tyler Adams wasn't shying away from like any challenge with Joelinton or Bruno.
Oh yeah, he was getting scrappy with Bruno at times too, and
Hmm.
it was fun to see because Bruno's like one of the scrappiest like midfielders.
Exactly. Uh, Another player that impressed me, or two, um, Lewis Cook. I think he's another that sacrifices for the team. Usually plays in that midfield, but they didn't really have a right back option, so he looks good in that right back position. Pretty reliable, and then also David Brooks. He's starting to fill in, looking really nice in the squad.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I can't think of anyone that played poorly for Bournemouth this game.
No, I
Um,
can't either. I
and to
think the
your,
only, yeah, to your point, Ariola. I think he's probably like a top. He might be top 3 manager in the league. If you go like pound for pound. by
Hmm.
squad. Um, the only worrying thing for him is like he has a lot of young players that he's really developed into these like rising stars, and I don't know. I feel like a lot of teams are going to be after him. So like having to reshuffle his squad could be a challenge, but
Yeah, I wonder what the next steps will be with this team, like um because they are top seven contending potentially for a European spot, which I think would be attractive for players to stay. But I feel like they're at two paths right now with under Areola. Because I think Areola's for the job. The situation reminds me of kind of what Villa is probably going through or went through, and then Brighton. I think Bournemouth right now can go either way. He can go like the Unai way, and if Bournemouth are able to secure a European spot, I think they'll be able to convince a lot of their players right now, like, hey, stay with us. Let's see what we can do in the European competition, and then maybe he can build even a stronger squad, kind of like has done under Unai. Or I think they can go kind of the Brighton way, where I think now Areola's really positioned Bournemouth to be a permanent Premier League team. And I think like Brighton, maybe they can turn over a lot of players and make a lot of money, try to
yeah.
reinvest into, and kind of just keep that cycle going. So I could see them going in one of those two paths. I think they're set
Mhm.
up really well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But let's flip over to Newcastle. It was a very disappointing first, I guess, half wasn't too bad, but um, I thought overall pretty disappointing performance from them. What were some of your takeaways?
I know that Livermento and Hall, they've been doing really well this year, but I think this was one game where they both, especially Livermento, I thought he looked really poor. Um, and I think Trippier, he ended up coming on for Lewis Hall. Yeah, he was just having a really tough. Both the outside backs were having a torrid time. And then in terms of like impact or influence, like Tonali, Joelinton, and even like Anthony Gordon couldn't really do anything. Only one that kind of looked good offensively was Bruno G. He was drawing like a lot of fouls, but other
Hmm.
than that, it was quite a disappointing performance from Newcastle.
Yeah, it was. It just wasn't their day. They didn't look up for it. Um, but also just like when we were looking at the bench, it was like who could they really bring on to make a difference going forward? And I couldn't really see anyone that would be able to make the impact.
I'm surprised on how I think he's been injured a lot this year, but Lewis Miley hasn't really
Hmm.
been utilized as much. Um, I know like in the Carabao Cups or like FA Cups, he's been getting some minutes, but surprised he's kind of just left out.
Yeah, I guess now with Tonali kind of fully back, like it's gonna be hard for him to get game time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, to your point, maybe he could have added a different type of creativity. But I mean, the front three, Isak and Gordon, I mean, they've been unbelievable this year, but they were just not in this game. And it's just concerning a little where games like these, you know, the really good teams, they're able to have difference makers on the bench, but just looking at that bench, it doesn't, I couldn't pick one or two players that could do that for them,
Yeah, exactly.
which is really concerning. I mean, granted,
Yeah.
I guess Harvey Barnes is hurt and Callum Wilson, but
Yeah, those are really the only threats they have going forward,
mhm.
but yeah, I think that was one of the talking points though when we had our like transfers for the teams was like they kind of need some more attacking power out there.
Mhm. All right, let's move on to the next window of games. let's start with ones we didn't really we had kind of on the side. Start with Leicester versus Fulham. Um, in terms of Fulham, what stood out to you?
Uh, I didn't really pay attention to this game much, but I
Hmm.
will say Traore, that was a nice finish. Usually he's always be struggling with that final product, but fair play to him. That was a good finish. Um, but yeah, I didn't pay too much attention just because it was kind of one-sided. Um, I think Leicester had a chance or two early in the game, but after that it was kind of cruise control for Fulham. Um, so that was really my only takeaways. It's pretty much a one-sided. Kind Leicester kind of looks like a relegation bound team next to Southampton.
Yeah, this game felt similar to the Palace game where Leicester in the first like 20 minutes or so, they look really good. They have chances, but then they just kind of fell off and Fulham just completely controlled the game. Um, Again, that man, the center backs for Leicester just not a great pairing, especially what Foss. He's so bad. Um, but a standout player for Fulham this year has been Harry Wilson. He
Yeah,
got
that
an
assist was
assist,
really
and
nice, that first one.
yeah, he's been really good. He's been one of the standout Fulham players for me this year.
Yeah, I think it's been the last couple games where he's really stood out. I think it was the match before Chelsea was like when he really started picking up form. And ever since then, he's kind of been undroppable for him.
Is that a potential player United could get?
No, I don't really, that's not a profile player we need. I think we have a few players like him. I think we need more physical presence in our squad. We're really missing that type of profile.
Even at like
Um,
the inverted 10 type role?
yeah. Um, yeah, but and then Leicester, like relying on IU still, it's not it. I don't know
Yeah.
why Bo not I don't know if they're Van Nistelrooy's easing him back from injury, but IU had an absolute stinker for being like a so reliant for Leicester.
Hmm. And unfortunately, Vardy, I mean, he's getting at that age. It is still impressive how much of a threat he can pose with his speed still. But I mean, I think we said he'd score 10 or more goals this year, right? So he's closing in. He's 4 goals away, I think. So
Hmm.
we'll see with a little past halfway. Um, all right, next game. Again, this one we had on kind of the side here was West Ham versus Palace, and
Jean-Philippe.
John Philippe scored 2 goals to seal it 2-0.
I always root for that man because he just reminds me of like the typical old school, like
Barclays,
pure
yeah.
Barclay striker.
And the celebration just gets me so hyped. Just big man
Hmm.
karate
Yeah.
kicking the shit out of the flag.
He had a terrible start to the year, but he's low key, slowly banging in the goals for him.
Oh yeah, people were saying, "Oh, is this a purple patch?" At like the end of last year, was that like
Uh-huh.
just and now he's try, but like, yeah, to your point, he did start off really slow, but since October, the end of October, that Tottenham game that they won, um, he has, I think, He's scored 6 goals out of his eight.
Hmm.
Um, so he's been on fire.
Yeah. And I was a little worried. Well, not really. But I did feel bad for Palace just because they had to give back Chalobah to Chelsea, and he was
Mm.
sliding in really well with that defense. But their three center backs did a pretty good job. And then
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
a
know if
huge.
though if with Chris Richards though. Are you a fan of him?
I feel like he's still like he's still developing. I don't know if he's like ready to be
Hmm.
like a guaranteed starter. he has his moments, but
I think he's a slight of a downgrade from Chalobah.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, but Palace, they look pretty comfortable as they had a good game. Uh, Nketiah making an impact off the bench. Felt bad for him. Like Mateta's the PK taker, but Nketiah kind of did the work to draw that foul.
Hmm.
He's been another bit of a disappointing signing for Palace. I thought he would make make an impact for him, but he hasn't really been able to start get like into starting 11 much.
Yeah, you would think that his whole reason he wanted to get out of Arsenal is so he can prove that he can be like the guy, the number nine, and uh, is the main reason he left Arsenal. And I think the only thing he's shown is he's been able to take like literally just the number nine, like the jersey, but like aside from that, he is having the same exact role he did at Arsenal, where he's just coming off the bench for the last 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it's not like I thought he was like a still a youngster, but he's 25 now. It's when a lot of players start really hitting their peaks, so it's a little worrying. Um,
Especially because Jean Philippe is like a year or two older than him only,
yeah.
even though
So,
he looks like an old head.
oh yeah.
And then if we want to, oh, did you have any other talking points for Palace? Or we can switch over to
Yeah, let's
West
hop
Ham.
over to West Ham.
Okay. Yeah, for me, for West Ham, uh, the only player that really stood out with like a decent game uh, was Juan Bissaka. Even going on attack, he was surprisingly the only guy that was able to create some decent chances. But other than that, they just looked,
It looked dry without Bowen.
yeah, they just do not look like, I don't know where they're getting their goals from.
Yeah, that man Paqueta, his downfall this year's been crazy.
Dude, his stocks are low right now.
He went from being linked to like City, like pushing for him mad hard to yeah, his stocks are have fallen.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his game. Like, I think Bruno Guimaraes is a better Brazilian.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and as much as of a dirty player he is, and I dislike that aspect of his game, he provides like even when he's not able to create going forward, he's able to put in a shift somewhere else. Whereas Paquetá kind of he just gets lost otherwise.
Yeah, he's a bit lazy. He won't really work for you defensively. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, West Ham a little concerning also having to rely on Cresswell at this point, but it looks like Graham Potter's slowly trying to integrate some youngsters like this Orford guy who came on and um Oliver Scarles. I think this was like his second appearance for Potter, so he's
Hmm.
starting to integrate some youngsters, but uh he might need to he might need to upgrade a bit.
Yeah, I agree there. Yeah, even the double pivot didn't really look good. Although Sar and Eze, they've been heating up recently, the past few weeks. Like they've been, especially Eze. He started off slow as well. He's been finding
Hmm.
his form, but I thought Edson Alvarez would. I think I talked about him last week. Was one that's gonna stick out under Graham Potter, but him and Rodriguez just didn't look good together.
Yeah, and that double pivot, like Socek can't really play that role. I thought Soler would kind of be a shoe in there, but
Hmm.
wasn't the case.
All right, and then if we want to move on to the last game during that window, Brentford Liverpool. Um, Liverpool ended up winning 2-0 thanks to Darwin Nunez's brace at the end, stoppage time. So I think it's fair that maybe let's start with the losing side, Brentford here. I can give some of my talking points here, but I thought Brentford defended pretty well. Um, were compact, but they seemed like they just wanted to play defensive, not lose the game, and try to grab a goal on the counter. And I thought they executed that pretty well. Uh, defended well. I thought Embuemo had a few chances on the counter, but other than that, like Liverpool didn't really let Brentford breathe. I thought Embuemo could have been more aggressive taking on Tsimikas, especially because Tsimikas got that yellow super early into the first half. But aside from that, I thought it's hard when you're playing a Liverpool side like that to just defend the whole time and hope to play on the counter.
Yeah, I thought Brentford had a good game. Unfortunate they conceded so late. Uh, because I thought, yeah, defensively they were so compact. Like Lewis Potter, I thought he was dealing with Salah pretty well. Given he's not even a defender. I mean he's playing that left back role, but I thought he was doing a really good job. Same with Rosalif on the other end. Uh, I did pick up a few times where like Rosalif was making these crazy overlapping runs, like 60-yard sprints.
Mm-mm.
And I think there were two or three instances where Embuemo really should have given it to him. And you could see how pissed he was. But uh, that was another thing with Embuemo is like he's a great player, not trying to take anything away, but this game especially I noticed is like he really tries to keep cutting in to his left. I
Mm-mm.
think he had a chance, one of Brentford's rare chances. I think it was Norgard or Damsgaard that kind of played him through. And he had a really good chance on his right foot, but he kind of slowed it down, tried to chop it to his left, and by then it was like barbecue chicken for Van Dyke.
Yeah, I think that was Damsgaard with like that 40-yard long pass diagonal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, to your point, Buemo, I think this type of game doesn't fit his style because when you're on the counter, you want to, you don't want to slow it down, and that's what Buemo does a lot, like you're saying.
Mhm.
Um, it just didn't fit. Like when you're playing just off the count, you want to go full pace and stuff, but like Buemo really likes to kind of get a groove and like slow things down.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, but one player that I really am becoming a huge fan of for Brentford is that
Yep.
Yarmolenko.
Yup, dude, same.
He's nice.
20
He's
years old too.
versatile. Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he's so versatile too in that midfield. He really impresses me.
Yeah, he's like the way he tracks back to and helping Lewis Potter was impressive and just his composure to like literally dribble out of his own box at times was impressive.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying watching him play this year. Um, and then another Brentford player that I think we have to give a shout out to is Flecken. Some of the saves he was able to make, some big saves.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think yeah, to your point, Yarmolenko is definitely a player
He's gonna
that
get a
should
big move
on the
eventually, I
radar.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think unlike Bournemouth, I think Thomas Frank is a little fortunate with these guys. I don't think, aside from Embuemo and potentially Yarmolenko, I don't think a lot of other teams like I've been hearing about interest in his players.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think the reason might be like Brentford, um, they play the same way. Like they have such a structured system, um, where I don't know if teams think like they can't adjust to the way, like their style, because the way Thomas Frank has him set up, like he has a certain playing style for him that kind of suits that particular player. Um, yeah, because to your point, the only two players I really hear of getting moves from Brentford are Wissa and Embuemo.
Hmm. And then now I think Yarmolenko. I haven't heard news from him, but like teams should be on the lookout for him.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and then do you want to move on to Liverpool
Yeah,
players
let's
that
do
stuck
it.
out?
Yeah, Liverpool, other than Darwin Núñez, who definitely got confidence boost with those two goals. Um, I'll say Gravenberch again, impressive. Uh, he makes it look so easy in the midfield. Um, One player that also stuck out kind of negatively, and he's, I think, I don't want to be too harsh because he has had, I think he's still a good player, but he just had a bad few games as Luis Diaz, in that center forward role.
It's unfortunate because him or Gakpo have to play down the middle, and neither of them I think are meant for that role.
Yeah, I don't think so. Because Gapco, he's transformed since going back out to the left. Um, but one last player, glad he was involved this game was Harvey Elliott. I thought he was a bit of a changer as well when he came on.
Dude, he's an underrated player. Um, if he didn't have that setback with that terrible leg injury, I mean, I don't know if you remember his form before that, but he was like tearing it up for Liverpool, one of their better players as a
Hmm.
youngster. But it's good to see him back, and even in the Champions League game, he was looking pretty good. Scored a goal, but
Yeah, because he was on I think he was on my radar for getting like Young Player of the Year. So it was
mhm.
unfortunate he had this injury and kind of just fell out of favor.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I always said the way he dribbles and stuff reminds me of Messi sometimes, like the way his body feints go. Like he doesn't do any crazy tricks, but
Hmm.
able to get past defenders. But yeah, that second goal, I think it was his breakthrough pass,
Yeah,
kind of slipping Nunez in. But I think we have to give a shout out to Slot as well because a lot of those guys you had mentioned that had good games. One you probably missed is Simicast. Even on the
yeah.
yellow, he was super disciplined and kept Embuemo relatively in check when most people would have bet that Embuemo would have cooked after that yellow. But Simicast played well, but Slot, I mean, he's improved a lot of these players, and he also brings in players who can they make an impact instantly. I mean, back to that Nottingham game with his super subs both being involved, and then today this game as well with Elliot and Nunez.
And then uh it's also positive to see Konate finally having a good game. I think after his injury, he looked a bit shaky at times, but this was one game where I think he was back to his best. Didn't get any of those death stares from Van Dyke like we've seen the past few games.
Yeah, I'd be shitting my pants if Van Dyke gave me that look.
For real,
He looks like he'd murder you.
that's when you know you're in deep trouble. Doesn't say
Yeah.
stuff, just gives you that look.
But yeah, Konate is also a player that under Arne Slot has improved. I mean, it always helps when you're partnering with Van Dyke, but
Hmm.
I know a lot of people are like Slot's kind of lucky. Like if I were to manage Liverpool, I could do the same thing. He has the same players as Klopp did. Like is he really a great manager? But I think he's done a really good job. Um,
Klopp definitely set the foundation. Um, but I think yeah, Slot's just made a few tweaks.
mhm. And he's improved a lot of players too.
Hmm.
Maybe Gakpo just needed another year to get a feel for Premier League, but he's looked like a transformed guy. I was like, who is this dude that everyone's hyping up? So I remember I didn't watch that World Cup, but you were like, oh, this guy Gakpo, he's gonna be nice. And I remember watching him first year in Liverpool. I was like, Nar, who is this kid? But like now he's like, I see the hype. But I mean, same thing
Yeah.
with like Gravenberch and Soboslai even. People,
Hmm.
Soboslai was like proclaimed to be a waste of money for Liverpool, but now he's playing an important role.
I will say the one player that I think he might have to see himself out of this Liverpool squad though, because I do think he's a really good player, but with Gravenberch's like resurgence, just not getting enough PT is Endo. Um,
Mm.
because I think he's really good, but like it's just hard to replace Gravenberch. And I don't think he's one of those where like he's a small like just cup game type players.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Endo's, but that's the thing with like great teams. Like if Liverpool want to be ambitious and pull a city and win four titles back to back to back, or win the league and the Champions League, great teams have a lot of depth. And I think Liverpool, if you look top down, every position there's a backup. Maybe not for Salah. There's If he's down, then they're probably screwed. They don't really have a strong right mid, but Endo, I mean, Gravenberch, like he does seem to be tiring a little bit compared to the first half of the season. So I am surprised Endo hasn't been getting some more PT. But I mean, that's an elite position where Gravenberch goes down, you have Endo to rely on.
That's true. Yeah.
The two positions I would say, even like Chiesa, he's been getting a little more playing time
I
now,
like that. Yeah.
which is fun to see. And he's a solid player. To also kind of, you have elite backups as well, and that's what makes a great team. I think the only position really is, I think a center back you need
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
for Konate.
Yeah. I think Kwanzaa's kind of got to go out on loan to learn a bit more, and then
Hmm.
I guess you got Gomez, who's a bit versatile, but
Yeah, I don't know if that's like like an elite
reliable.
backup. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Gotcha.
And then we've talked about like the left back role, so.
Hmm.
With the Liverpool game, and we'll move on to the last game on Saturday.
Yeah. The most exciting one for sure. Arsenal versus Villa, 2-2.
Alrighty, where do you want to start here? Which side?
Let's go with the negatives. Start with Arsenal.
All right, so Arsenal, I thought a player. We'll start with positives on this side first, though. Positives for Arsenal, I thought Trossard really stuck out to me. He might have been the player of the game, but he was causing
He
all
was
sorts of issues.
cooking.
Matty Cash was looking silly out there, but Trossard, he's had multiple games now. He's on a good run of form here.
Yeah, he got two assists. He should have had one goal. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, the way Arsenal started, I was like, oh, this might be long days for Villa. Trossard was cooking, and then you got Martinelli who finally scores, and then Havertz who finally scores. So two players who have been quite heavily criticized get on the score sheet. So you'd think after this, it was like, oh, Arsenal are going to run away with it. Arsenal fans, delusional, are about to go crazy, saying they don't really need a striker. But surprisingly, they gave up two goals. Saliba was injured this game, but I mean, they had your Timber who dropped back to that center back role, who he's played that role before. Ajax days. Uh, but yeah, I thought Arsenal Trossard was a standout, and uh, Odegaard was just a bit disappointing. Um, didn't really give a captain's performance in a big game.
yeah, I agree. That second goal, up to that second goal, Arsenal were in complete cruise control. Even 10 minutes after the, um, like 5, 10 minutes after the goal, like to your point, it looked like long days. But yeah, Odegaard was completely ineffective this game. Um, he did not break a sweat, I don't even think. So it was pretty disappointing that Arsenal, especially at home, Emirates, which, people say is a tough place to play, you should be able to see that type of game out. Um, where you're up 2-0 and you're in cruise control. 2-1 is, I mean, 2-0 I guess is the most dangerous score in the game, but still it's very disappointing to see quote unquote a top level team with a blunder like that.
Yeah, and I know we just got done talking about Liverpool Brentford game and how we
Hmm.
said Liverpool literally have almost a star backup position for each position. Whereas look at this game, this is an example where Arsenal they kind of lack that. Um, yeah, defensively, like every position defensively, they have a backup for a backup for that matter, but
Hmm.
attack wise, like lacking. Um,
Yeah, that's a good point. What it was Sterling was the only guy they
yeah,
could have as an
yeah,
attacking threat. I will say though, for Arsenal's benefit, they've been unfortunate with injuries this year, but still, like they didn't make moves in the off season like they should have.
yeah. That's on their fault. I don't really have that sympathy for them for injuries because what they were missing Odegaard. He was the only player missing. Um, and we thought he'd light up the world if like he's the sole reason that they were kind of like not performing to their standards. But once he came back, they still didn't look like threatening going forward or anything. Like it was really set pieces where they looked the most dangerous. I mean, I'll give it to him now. Saka's out, but
Hmm. I think Ben White's been a big injury for them. Ben White and Tomiyasu, because they've had to fill in Party at right back plenty of times, and he just doesn't add the same dynamic as a proper right back. And there's the few games that Party's played, defensively, he's looked okay, but he doesn't add that. Like he's not making the same runs as Tomiyasu and Ben White. He doesn't have the same athleticism as those guys either. Um, and I mean, Saka looks his best when he's able to connect 1-2s and have guys overlap and stuff. And Arsenal's really missing that.
yeah, I will say that is a piece they're missing. Although I feel like Timber's a good right back when Saliba's in there. Um,
Yeah, Timber's not bad off, but I mean, Party's played maybe
oh, I see what you're saying.
3 or 4 games and they've
Yeah,
dropped points. So I feel for them on the injuries, but still, it's to their downfall. Well, first off, like some of these injuries, it's down to fitness. Uh, like some of these injuries, I guess Saka, I mean, you ran him to the ground, but
yeah, that was
other guys,
mismanagement by
yeah,
Arteta. Like playing him in Carabao Cup games where you're sealed to win. Like, why is he even on the
exactly.
squad?
The other ones, something's wrong with their medics or something. They need to get fixed
Bologna fleeced them with
with Calafiori.
Tomiyasu and Calafiori's injury history.
Yeah. Uh, so I mean, that's kind of their own fault though. Like they didn't go out in the transfer window to get attackers, and Arteta was pretty arrogant about that.
Yeah.
But speaking of Party, I mean, that second goal, do you fault him for that Watkins
Oh,
finish?
for the Watkins, yeah. It's kind of tough just 'cause he's not a natural right back, but that man he's taking a quick snooze.
Yeah, he did get, but a lot of people were saying like Party got cooked there. He did, but like um, I think Watkins deserves some credit for his movement there in the box to lose the defender like that.
Yeah, it was a, it's, yeah, very small detail. But yeah, that sudden change of direction kind of
Hmm.
had Partey lacking, but that was still a crazy tough finish.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it seemed like Party was like stepping up for like a offside trap or something.
Yeah, I don't know what he was. Yeah, he was
uh,
lost in the sauce.
yeah. Do you want to jump to Aston Villa?
Yeah.
What's that got to you? So I know Super Sub, one of yours was um,
Oh, there's another super sub
Bogarde.
that could have.
Oh yeah, Lucas Digne.
Yeah,
He changed the game because I think Matson was getting cooked that first half.
he had a bit of a stinker this year. For the
He-
for how I thought he was gonna slide in. I thought he would knock Digne right out of position, have that like left back role solidified, but he's been kind of trash, not gonna lie.
Yeah, he's been very bad. Like, well, he came on for like 50 mil too
Yeah, he
at
wasn't
Villa,
cheap. Yeah.
and he was supposed to be the starter, right, this year?
Yeah, I thought they're gonna phase Digne out, but kind of looks like they're relying on Digne a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my boy Jacob Ramsey, he had a going forward. I thought he had a really bad game. Same with Morgan Rogers.
Yeah, both of those guys stinkers.
It was weird. Like Villa, they were playing so they were not using like the width of the pitch at all. Like they were playing so narrow. Like
Mm-hmm.
it felt a bit congested, but I don't know if that was deliberate. Um, to face up like against Arsenal like that, but they just couldn't get anything going. To your point, like even after Arsenal got that second goal, like it wasn't until just out of the blue that they got their goal was when they like it was like they woke up after that first goal by Tillemans.
Dude, and that came out of nothing, that goal.
Yeah, it was a great finish, like a diving header.
Mm-hmm.
Like after that, they were like fully awake. Like I think he hit the post a few
Yep,
minutes
he did.
later, and then Watkins ended up getting the goal. Crazy assist by Cash too, but after Villa grabbed that first goal, it looked like they could have gone on to win the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think Ming started off really slow this game too. He looked quite poor at the beginning, and like it's like every time he had the ball, Arsenal were like full on press on that man. But I think eventually he kind of settled into the game around like halftime. He looked much better in the second half.
Yeah, but they'll definitely need Pau Torres back.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, this was a game for Villa of the super subs just making a big difference when they came on.
And it
Um,
was one of those like super subs where well Digne got the assist, but like it wasn't really for their goal contributions, but more so like just impact wise, like
hmm
um and it was funny because like Watkins, he was a bit quiet and like before his goal, like Emery had Duran stripped off, ready to come on, and then
Yeah, he's like sit back down.
yeah, sit back down.
Any other standouts for this game, or you want to move on to Sunday?
Uh, not standouts, but um, I'll say I'm not sure. Like I mentioned, like Villa were playing so narrow. I was surprised Leon Bailey didn't start. Uh, I think he could have made a difference, and he only got like 5 minutes of playing time. It was kind of
Dude,
strange.
that's another player that's been on a big downfall this year.
I thought he's been pretty good. Maybe not to the same heights as last year, but
Yeah, he just doesn't seem to have the same dog in him this year compared to last year.
yeah, he seems a bit too like laxed.
I think it might be when they had Diaby last year. Like Diaby was really he was nice, and it looked like he could have overtaken Bailey, and that probably caused him to be like, "Damn, I need to fight for my spot." They don't really like have that type of guy now for Bailey,
Yeah.
so I don't know if that's causing. But like, I don't know. Maybe it's just my eyes are tricking me, but he just seems too. He
Definitely not
doesn't.
the same heights, but
Yeah, and he
yeah.
just doesn't seem like he's like super as intense now.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's move on to Sunday. Some very entertaining games in that 9 o'clock window. There were a lot of games too. I hate when they schedule it like that.
Yeah, I
Please
hate
just break it up into three windows, please.
I wish one of these 9 o'clock could have been the one to replace the 11:30 one. We'll
Yeah,
get
that
to that
was.
one later.
We don't have to touch long on that one. But yeah, let's start with Everton Tottenham. David Moyes got the dub for Everton. First dub in the league with them. Let's see, they went up 3 3-0 pretty quick in the first half. Yep, all in the first half, and then Tottenham scored their first with like 20 minutes left, and then in stoppage time had a few chances. But what did you make of this game? Where do you want to start?
We'll start with the
Which
Everton side
Everton?
because I feel like Tottenham we might have quite a bit of uncomfortable talks for certain individuals.
Yeah, I think I'll start here for a player that stood out to me. Kind of the season. I mean, Everton's had kind of a tough, uh, tough season, just especially going forward. Dwight McNeil, I know we've mentioned he's been good for them, but he's been hurt for a while too. But someone that's kind of stepped up and under the radar, not really talked about in the league, is our light-skinned Senegalese brother, Njai.
Crazy. Yeah, his come ups.
He's been very good, and he's been one of the bright spots for them, even when they're losing, and others have poor games. He's been somewhat consistent, and this game, that goal he had on that run was insane.
Uh, I didn't realize Njai, he basically like until I was doing further research, I think it was I forget where I found it, but like he started off at like Rising Ballers. Like that's where he was kind of discovered. Um,
Oh,
and for listeners, like Rising Ballers, it's basically like a pretty popular YouTube channel, and they do a lot of like videos where it's like one-on-one battles. And they have like crazy payouts for like the winner of the one-on-ones, but it's like basically like it's one of those where it's like you versus like someone else, like just straight up best man with the best skills wins it. But that's where he started off, like how he kind of got his name out there.
I can kind of see it because he kind of has that street baller type play
Exactly.
style to him.
And this is a
Interesting.
might be a crazy take, but he might be a player that I'd be interested in United going out after because I think he'll be a really I mean he plays for Everton, so I think he would be quite a cheap option to go after, especially if they get relegated.
Yeah, that's funny you had that because in my notes I was like potential United move.
I think he'd suit really well in that inverted 10.
I agree.
Um, and I know you like, yeah, his goal was great, but I will say that defending was quite bad by Dragishin. He literally let him dribble all the way to get his
Yeah,
shot off. I was like, oh, bro.
Drag. I feel bad for Dragic. He's just getting completely exposed on this Tottenham side.
Yeah, it's just not his system. Uh,
Exactly.
he's a good player. It's just does not suit him the way they play.
Yeah, like I mean, he's a good defender, but not up for Ange.
Yeah, because we saw that like his Serie A, he was good. Even the Euros,
hmm
he was really good. But yeah, Tottenham just they play a
He
different
captains
system.
Romania too, right?
Exactly, yeah. So he's been dropping like stinkers after stinkers, but that's just because of the system Tottenham play.
hmm
Um, and then Everton, another player who I thought Conley finally kind of showed like his value to why they bought him was Jesper Lindstorm. I thought he had a pretty good game.
Mm.
Um, got the assist to uh I think he got the assist.
Yeah, he
Or might
he
be
had.
tripping to
No, he didn't.
is gay.
It was gay, yeah,
Gotcha.
but he was definitely involved in the build up.
Build up. Okay. Yeah, DCL finally get on the goal sheet. When do you hear that?
Yeah, yeah, that first one was tidy, dude. It was a nice finish.
That's when you know you're cooked. When DCL starts scoring on you. But I think that's yeah, David Moyes' first win as
hmm
on his return to Everton. So congrats to him. Big
Is
win.
someone that I remember people were hyping him up like crazy. was the center back from Lyon, Jake O'Brien, Irish dude. Um, they bought
Yeah.
him for like what, 25 mil or something from Lyon, but he's been pretty like he hasn't really seen the field, but with David Moyes now, a second start, and I thought he looked pretty solid out there on the right. I granted, I guess Madison and Spence. We'll get to Spurs, but I thought he looked fine. I know Ashley Young came at the end, but
hmm
might see why Everton spent 25 mil on him.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. He's kind of playing out there on the right, whereas I feel like he's kind of the center back role, but
Hmm. And then if we flip to Spurs,
oh
where do you want to start
geez.
with this team?
First of all, a 3-0 going 3-0 down first half to an Everton side is a sackable offense in itself, but yeah, this Tottenham team, um, I think two players who can possibly hold their head up is Kulusevski, or at least second half performance wise is Kulusevski and Lucas Bergvall. Um,
Hmm.
the rest completely shameless performance. Uh,
Oh,
let me not be too harsh on Archie Gray too. That was
I
he
don't
had
know. Archie, yeah, I
not
don't
his
know.
role
Archie
either.
Gray, yeah, I feel bad for him having to play center back. Um, but no, I think there were a couple players that Mikey Moore I thought looked decent coming on for Spurs. He was a guy that I think actually changed the game. He had an assist off the bench and he added a different dynamic when he came on.
Mhm.
Um, but also the keeper, Kinski, he's definitely mistake bound, but this game, I think he limited his mistakes, but he made some huge saves, especially two like point blank saves that Everton
That's fair.
probably should have finished. But
Yeah, that's fair. He still needs to work a little bit on his ball playing like with his feet, but
what are you talking about? A little bit, a lot of bit.
yeah, he gets me a little nervous whenever he gets the ball to his feet.
I don't know what it is about goalkeepers and their feet. Sometimes they just like so much slower than other guys. I'm like, what is happening? Like they just seem to be playing in slow motion every time.
That's
I don't know how
goalkeepers
that
for you.
works.
Yeah, it's not good.
Like, bro, I'd be pulling off like nutmegs and stuff, quick turns. Ah, ha,
I did
ha.
call it though when Richarlison came on. I was like, stars are written. He's gonna get a
Bro,
goal.
what we need to start doing is like, we should give our listeners what our bet of the week would be. That one would have
Ooh.
hit, or you should have had that in. But yeah, let's go back. What are some other players that you want to discuss or things you want to discuss? I think one
Uh
talking point I've been seeing on Twitter
oh,
or
sorry.
X.
Real quick before you get into that, also, Kulisevsky, that finish ridiculous, my guy. That was wild,
Oh, that was
nonchalant.
composed. Yeah, that was a nice finish. He's been kind of like Njai when Spurs are playing bad. He's the one dude that is consistent, like decent.
Oh yeah,
If it wasn't for him, they'd look complete garbage.
for real.
One thing I've been seeing on X a lot is with Spurs fans, and even like you see it in the after the games where they're literally booing Ange and like making fun of him. Do you think he should be gone after this year, especially if they finish like outside of top 10?
Yeah, I've seen that debate go a lot, but I think he's changed this team for the better. But this form is quite shocking. I'm trying to find like their last couple games, like their results. Because string of results have been really bad. Uh,
Yeah, so they lost 3-2 to Everton. Then they lost two before that 2-1 to Arsenal. And then in the FA Cup, I mean, they beat Tamworth 3-0, but I mean, we all know that was a very close game, extra time. Before that, they won in the EFL Cup or Carabao Cup to Tottenham, Liverpool.
uh-huh.
And then they lost to Newcastle in the league 2-1. They tied Wolves 2-2. They lost to Nottingham 1-0. They lost to Liverpool 6-3. That was a crazy match. They beat y'all in the Carabao Cup. Uh,
Gotcha.
that was a goalkeeper fest, and they signed Kinski after.
Yeah, so league wise, out of their last 8 league games, they've only won one to Southampton. Um, or even 9 games. Like that's a crazy form to be in. Where a lot of managers would be talked about.
Hmm.
Whereas I haven't really seen any art like I've only seen Tottenham fans kind of having this debate where I haven't seen any like statements or anything from what's his name? Levy
Hmm.
saying anything about his job security, which is good for Ange, but I think deep down it might come down to the Carabao Cup, uh how they doing that because I think if they win the Carabao Cup, he'll keep his job.
Hmm.
Um, but I think Tottenham, they just Leicester might be a big game this weekend. He definitely cannot afford to uh, lose that game. Uh, but I don't know. I don't think he should be out the job. He's had a few unfortunate injuries. Those center back pairing of Van de Ven and Romero. I mean, those are huge
Hmm.
losses, especially
Especially
for his
Van de
system.
Ven.
Yeah, Van de Ven. He's like that last emergency center back for him. Um, and he's transformed the squad like entertainment wise. Like they're so enjoyable to watch as a neutral at least. But
As he would say, "Are you not entertained?"
but I feel bad for him. Like his post game interviews, like he just looks so gloomy and sad.
Hmm.
Like when the interviewer was trying to get a rise out of him, he's like, "Oh, that's how you want to start this interview or something." I was like, "Oh, dude."
Yeah, I feel bad, like with especially his back line. I mean, their biggest issue is they're so leaky. And that just comes down to the back line is just when you're relying on Archie Gray, Dragusin, and Ben Davis to be the legs, and that's a recipe for disaster. But I mean, attack wise, they definitely have an identity under him. And they don't look terrible, but I think it's something with just like the players as well. Um, because I've seen that like speculation that like, oh, a lot of these injuries for Spurs is because Ange is overtraining the players and stuff. But I think it was Pedro Porro saying like, no, Ange, like he's a great coach and his training sessions are, yeah, they're intense, but um, I mean, this is our job. Like we need to be doing things outside of training, focus on recovery. And then the days where we don't have light sessions, you also need to be doing stuff in the gym. And he was basically calling out some players saying they're not doing that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, they have a whole lot of injuries. Like Udogi's out for a while. Um, Solanke can't stay fit. He's a big piece.
Hmm.
Odebear's still been hurt. They got a lot. They just got a lot of injuries to key players.
And it just doesn't seem like there's a player on there that like just kind of takes that ownership. I guess Kulusevski been trying, but other than that, it doesn't seem like someone's like, all right, guys, let's get our shit together. Like I'm gonna put us on our back.
Exactly. Um,
All right. So let's move on to Nottingham versus Southampton. Another 3-2 game. Very entertaining. Nottingham went up 3-0 pretty quickly. Same to uh, Everton in the first half. And then Southampton, they scored 15 minutes into the second half. And then they scored their third kind of in stoppage time, but had some chances there at the end. Um, But I do think ultimately Nottingham deserved the dub. Um,
Chris Wood up to no good.
Up to no good again with another goal. Um, I wonder how serious Hudson Odoi's injury will be. Hopefully not that serious because
That's a key
he's,
piece.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's been good. Um, who else stuck out to you for Nottingham?
Gotta keep giving credit to Elliot Anderson. He's just
Hmm.
one of the unsung heroes of the team that goes under the radar. No one speaks about him, so gotta give him his flowers. But another good performance that actually ended up getting on the goal sheet to show for it. Um, and I thought this one would be a trickier game for Forest because they like to play on the counter. So
Hmm.
like Southampton's not really a team that really dominates to kind of play that style, but Forest still looked good. They looked a little vulnerable, surprisingly, on set pieces, defending them. Uh, they had a goal line clearance where Southampton almost had the equalizer, but yeah, Southampton, it's it's like Groundhog Day. They suck.
Yeah, they're absolutely trash.
I just uh I think they'll really break the record for lowest points ever in PL history.
What's that record?
Uh, Derby County, I think that 11.
So 5 points in the next 16 games, you're saying?
Yeah,
You don't think they'll get two dubs?
yeah, I don't know where
Dang.
it's gonna come from.
Is that your bet right now for the week?
I might have to
You're
put
gonna
that bet. Yeah.
put a line in? Yeah, Southampton just looked poor. But again, to the previous points of Njai and Kulusevski, who's been kind of the constant through all their terrible games, especially Southampton's had a ton. Who would you say is the one player that has really stood out for you and probably gets a bigger move? Because there's one clearly in my mind.
I thought he was out injured this game. Was it Tyler Dibbling? Or
Okay,
was it
yeah.
based on someone on this who played this game?
Yeah, I forgot about Tyler Dibbling. He's definitely been good. Yeah. Someone else. Okay, there's a couple. There's there's also the guy who was cooking Leniero,
The
Sulemana.
Pace Merchant. Yeah.
Pace Merchant. Dude, he was cooking Euro. He's a youngster too. Um, but no, one other guy, I guess Sulemania, how many games has he played for Southampton this year? He's only played like what, 10 games, but he really stood out against y'all. He really caught my eye. But even this game when he came on, he really caught my eye. But
Leslie.
no, there's one player that has
Uh,
Ogachoa.
yeah.
I guess he's still Chelsea, but no, I would say Mateus Fernandez.
Ah, yes, the Portuguese. He's been
He's
good.
he's been very good this year for Southampton. Yeah, he got an assist in this game, but and I don't think he's really been on the score sheet, but I really like his game. Uh, he's always looking to find kind of the positive runs, which I mean, it's very limited at Southampton, but he's looking for that forward pass, and he's been the most creative player for Southampton in that midfield.
I wonder if he's on loan or it's permanent that he's at Southampton because he was at Sporting, so it's a bit of a drop off. Um, because yeah, to your point, he's been quite impressive uh in this terrible squad.
Yeah, I think he Southampton got him for like 15 mil from Sporting, so he's a permanent player.
Gotcha.
But I wouldn't be surprised if he got a big move.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. He's looked good. I don't know if he'd be starting material
Hmm.
for a lot of the other teams. Um, but he definitely could make a move to kind of stay in the Premier League team.
Yeah, I could see him fitting in well with like a Bournemouth or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, if he wants to go that route, or even like a bigger team. Were there any other takeaways from this one?
Uh, Not much. But I know there were big news. I think just today, Murillo extending contract till
Mm.
2029 with Forest. So
Oh wow.
securing a really important piece of your defense.
Yeah, that's good news. Yeah, and just kind of recapping on the table, they're 6 points behind Liverpool, but Liverpool's got a game in hand, so let's just say nine for now. So they're still in it,
Hmm.
in that title race. And their next game will be very important on Saturday against Bournemouth. True test there. But yeah, let's move on. Do you want to skip United?
Yeah, we don't gotta talk about the worst Manchester team in history.
uh, yep, those were Amarin's words. So the worst team in United history. Um, let's start with Brighton because we'll have a lot to talk about with United. With Brighton, I thought Matoma and Menta, both the wingers, were great this game. Uh,
Yes. Given that Menta
it,
hasn't really gotten he was like a constant starter and then he kind of dropped off, got injured, and then
mhm.
had to slowly come in back.
Yeah, I remember telling you before this game, I was a little worried uh, with Euro and I guess like the back three of Delit, Maguire, and Euro. Just those three, I'm like, why isn't Martinez in? I think Martinez is one of the more athletic defenders y'all have, but those two, I mean, Delit adds a lot of intensity, but him and Euro were just looking kind of uncomfortable, I
Hmm.
thought. And that's where even João Pedro was feasting, and but Matoma and Menta also um, were licking their chops against them. Um, Lenny Euro, I'm a little worried. I know he's still 19, so he's young, got a lot of time, but he hasn't impressed me at all so far at United.
I think the
Um,
injury preseason did him a bit, because he's out for a long time. Um,
hmm
Kind of hurt.
He just doesn't have that like presence as well about like a elite defender that you want. Um, and I've yet to see his ball playing skills that people were talking about. So I thought those two, but again, we're talking about Brighton first. So I thought those guys, Menta and Matoma, look great. And then, of course, we had to give a shout out to Baliba again for
Oh
guarding
yeah,
that midfield.
masterclass. I thought he'd be in a little bit of trouble because he picked up the yellow. I forget
Pretty
when.
early.
Yeah, it was kind of early, so I was like, oh, could target him, but
Yeah,
yeah, that
23rd
man,
minute with Bruno's feet penalty.
yeah, Believer ended up playing the full 90, complete machine. He's one I think we could really use at
Yeah.
United. Um, but just because of financial issues we have, and I think he'll go up to a couple hundred transfer fee.
Yeah, I could see him at 100 mil. Same as like Caicedo.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, to your point, I think he would be perfect at United. Because Baliba, I think it's unfortunate for people to classify him as like a six. I think he's more of a box to box type guy.
Oh yeah, I think so too. He's an
So
engine.
with
Yeah.
yeah, next to Garte, he'd be great.
And you could like he's an engine like defending and attacking, like he'll run box to box, but then his ball playing ability is also underrated. He had I think it was to start off that first goal, played like a switch, kind
Out
of
to Mento.
started yeah, kind of started the attack and then there's another where he kind of created a chance with like a long through ball, like on the money. So his like ball playing is kind of underrated as well.
Yeah. And Gravenberch is definitely the best. He's got the best half turn in the league, but Baliba's up there.
And I said
He,
Gravenberch best half turn in the world is
yeah,
wild. Yeah.
it's insane. But I mean, Baliba's up there with his half turn. He looks composed coming out the out of pressure. But yeah, some of those long balls he had, dude, man, I would have loved to practice with him long balls when I was younger.
And I know we've mentioned like how the Sweden national team is going to be on the rise potentially with like Jokeris and Elanga.
Hmm.
Um, but another piece to
Isak.
that Isak, but another like piece to that Sweden puzzle is that Iari kid.
Ooh,
He's kind of nice.
yeah.
He had a pretty solid game as well.
Any other Brighton shout outs that you wanted before we move on to United?
No, they're
Start off here. I'll let you have a monologue here for United.
let's see. Monologue. We suck. That's all I gotta say. We suck. Um, but I think we suck because we don't have yet the full players needed to fit his system. I think he hasn't had, to be fair to Amrin, hasn't had the full, uh, like, he hasn't had enough time to really work with the squad still. He said he preferred coming in the summer so he would have a lot more time to work with them, like having that preseason, a lot more training sessions. But yeah, we stink.
It's unfortunate. It's the opposite of a manager bounce right now.
Complete opposite. Uh, and Xerxes, I know the last few times he came in on the sub, and I watched a lot of Lies's videos. Who's this other podcaster that's a United fan, and it's funny because like he has this one thing where he points out, and it like it's perfect like accuracy. Like Xerxes, he'll have good cameos off the bench, but when he starts, trash. And Hoyland looks will um and when Xerxes starts and looks trash, Hoyland will come off the bench, have a cameo, look good, but then when he starts, trash. So like both our strikers just not at the level yet. I think we've been banging the drum where I said I'd rather have Hoyland, but bringing a star striker to have him learn from. Um, like if we had Hoyland when we had Cavani on the squad, I think Hoyland would be different class. Uh, Dallo at that left wing back, that brother cannot play that role. As much as I like Dallo, I think he's more of the center back role in the back three or a right wing back role. But it was weird though, because at AC Milan he would play on the left and he looked good, but when he was on loan there, um, but yeah, he
Yeah,
just
but at
is.
Milan too, like Syria, oh, it's a
It's a different
different
level.
type. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's like they're definitely more tactically defensive, like minded Milan when he was there too. So I think
that's
he just fit a little better. But to your point, yeah, I would agree. Him being at one of the center backs, his ball playing skills as a center back would be great, and
hmm
especially with like how unathletic Delit, McGuire, and it looks like Euro are.
exactly. Um, I will say Ahmad continues to impress. Only him and Bruno, only ones that really put in work. A
Yeah,
little,
claps for Ahmad, dude. He's been on a tear this year.
bro. I've been saying it last like couple years. Like we need to
Hmm.
be playing this man. And I don't know what our coaches were like not seeing in him. Um, and then Mainu, bit concerning. Like ever since his injury, like he still looked good, but he just hasn't had the same impact. Like he's
Hmm.
struggled a bit. Ugarte, this was one of his poor games, but I will give credit. He's looked good. Mazarawi, he ate that post.
Oh
That
my
was
God,
wild.
dude.
I
Dude, he got
thought
up too
I
after
thought he
that.
would have
Like he,
died
dude, that looked terrible. But he got up after like 30 seconds.
for real. Um,
I thought he like broke some. broke my clavicle.
Bro, he ate that post. Yeah, listeners, you gotta look up that third goal. And then or that second goal. And then oh Nana, oh my gosh. Last year, complete trash. Like he literally cost us the game in all our Champions League matches, as well as a couple Premier League matches. He's looked a lot better this year, but he had like disasters this Brighton game. That third goal, unacceptable. I don't know what he was doing. Second goal, I don't know why he didn't come out to claim the cross. Uh, like, bro, you're the only player on the field that can use your hands. Like, come out for the ball. Uh,
Yeah, the
but
last one was a how like keepers make mistakes here and there, but like his mistake is like a mistake. Like it's a
it's like,
bad.
yeah, it's like some FIFA type glitch. Uh, but I don't know. I think when we have to upgrade our squad, he'll probably be the last. Like, we'll eventually upgrade on him, but I don't think he should be a priority. But yeah, we were a mess. Uh,
Like you said, there's a lot of players that don't fit Amarin's profile and the player he wants.
uh-huh.
Um, and I'm curious, like, we've seen now 2 games in a row, I think, with that Collier guy making an appearance and off the bench, and he actually like fits in decent when he comes on. He looks full of energy, and he doesn't seem like lost out there. But since the season basically is a wash for y'all, like, are there other names that you potentially want to see from your academy?
Uh, there's one. Uh, there's one center back. Goodwill something. He's like I think 17-year-old.
Hmm.
Uh, I'd like to kind of see him at that center back role, and then that left wing back. I want to see Harry and Moss get PT.
Mm.
Um, I'm surprised because Amarin likes the youth, and I don't think Malasia is it. He'll get sold, and I thought Harry and Moss would definitely be getting a lot more playing time than he hasn't got any playing time under Amarin.
Yeah, I think Amarin's gonna dig to just use some other guys to test things out, especially if it's a kind of a wash of a season.
Yeah.
Um, are there any other guys that aren't really getting to see the field that you want to see? Not necessarily an academy player.
Uh, no, but I think there will be. Uh, it's gonna be sad, but some players that will probably leave.
Hmm.
Just because we need to free up money as well as they're not gonna fit in. Um, and the one player who I think is gonna get sold this window or this summer, unfortunately, I'm gonna be hella sad, but it's gonna happen is Garnacho.
Hmm.
Um, because he's not a wing back and he just doesn't suit the inverted 10 role. Um, and I think Napoli, since they just got rid of Vicha, they kind of need someone to fill in that role, and they're
Hmm.
willing to pay up to. They just put in a bid that got rejected for 60 mil because
Yeah,
United
I saw
were
that.
asking for 70 mil. Um, and I'm pretty sure they'll go for it. So
Yeah, I think we put in a bid as well. I think we were interested in him and
his
he,
age, his
yeah, him or
agent was at
Toes.
your game.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I hope if we do sell him, it's not to a Premier League side because can't
mhm.
have that happen.
Yeah, I'm really interested though to see if Amarin just gives some minutes to other guys that typically wouldn't in a strong campaign, but given just the situation you guys are at, there aren't players like if he pulls up the youth or even guys like Malasia. He's made a few cameos this year, like 2 games, I think, and he hasn't looked great, but maybe he gets a little more playing time just to see, you know.
Yeah. I will say, as disastrous it's been, though, I'm very happy how stubborn Amarin is to his ways. Um, he's a bit of a yeah, he's got that swagger and aura, but he's also very non
No BS.
yeah, no BS type manager. Like press conferences, he'll say it straight. Um,
He's out here
he's
breaking TVs.
yeah, that's what I heard. Like he was flipping tables, broke TVs in the dressing room. Um,
Bro, we need y'all to be on the next Amazon Prime
oh,
video.
for sure.
That'll be full entertainment.
Oh yeah. But I like how he hasn't thrown like what he's known for out the window just to get results. Like he said it when he first came in, like we'll suffer and it will be like a storm that will come our way. But we need to suffer and learn. Because we'd rather suffer now than having to suffer like next year.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Well, let's move on from United. Don't want you to suffer too much talking about this. I know it hurts. So we'll move on right next door to City. Scoring six. I'm sure you would have been happy seeing that score line for y'all. But let's keep this one short. City absolutely dominated Ipswich. First maybe 10 minutes, Ipswich had some chances, but after City scored, they just couldn't stop.
Yeah, first 15 minutes, 20 minutes as you mentioned. Ipswich actually looked pretty good to their credit. I thought Ben Godfrey was looking really good, like making runs down the flank. And Liam Delap, he had a few shots there, but yeah, City just it was cruise control. Um, I don't think we should talk about it too much.
No, Ipswich just you just can't just park the bus like that.
And I
You're gonna get
know,
broken down.
like, if you look at their player ratings, like their whole back line are in the red.
Hmm.
But I will say their goalkeeper, he kind of got it unfairly because I don't think any of the goals were really savable, apart from the
No,
second.
the one right under his elbow.
Yeah.
Yeah, even that was kind of close range though. But
And I think this keeper, he should never have lost his starting spot to that Mirich dude. That Mirich dude is trash.
oh yeah, he's stinky. But he will turn up against Chelsea, so whenever they play Chelsea, he needs to start. Um, but yeah, let's keep this short. Who would be your most standout player for City?
City, I think we got to give credits to Foden. He's had a rough time, but
Hmm.
finally stepped up.
Gotcha. Yeah, mine would be I was stuck between him and then also De Bruyne and Doku. But I
Mhm.
think I'll give it to Doku. Just the way he was creating, he created the most chances in the game. Um Dribbling past multiple players. I think he completed the most dribbles. Um, and then his issue's just been his final product, but he did have some wasted chances, but ended up getting an assist and goal.
Yeah. And this is one of the few games where Gundogan actually looked pretty good this
Finally,
year.
yeah.
And but I will say for Ipswich, the one player I'll keep an eye out because I didn't realize he was a permanent was Jaden Philogene.
Yeah, he
I
made a
thought he was just a
cameo.
loan. Um, so we'll see how he goes forward.
But let's move on to the last Premier League game of this week. Um, Chelsea up the Chelsea, back to our winning ways finally. Against Wolves, ended up winning 3-1. Um, but again, we'll start with Chelsea here. I think same story. We absolutely dominate for the first 30 minutes, and then we are kind of on that cruise control. We're dominating. It looks like it's gonna be an easy walk through. Uh, we waste chances here and there. We're laughing, chilling, and then just let the other team back into it. Doherty scored an equalizer in stoppage time. It's 1-1 going into half. And then usually this is when we've been falling apart, going to 1-1 at half, and then the other team just gains momentum on us. But this time around, we actually were able to get the dub. And I think my standout player, uh, huge round of applause to Trevor Chalobah. He got the assist. He should have had a goal. Madueke stole it from him, but
That
uh,
perfectly sums up Madueke.
dude, for real, just selfish. But Trevor Chalobah, dude, like we did him so dirty, but for him to come back and you can tell he absolutely loves Chelsea, but like the coaching staff just did him absolutely dirty.
What, making him
But
train with like the youth or something?
yeah, basically saying you're not, yeah, we have no vision for you. You're not even allowed first team grounds. So he played great. I think he was our best player, honestly. But overall, happy with kind of how we played in that second half. And again, first 30 minutes we always look good, but I didn't like how we let Wolves kind of back into it.
Yeah, that was yeah, I thought Madueke had a pretty good game, but again, he's just a little bit selfish at times.
Hmm.
Cole Palmer, I don't know if it's just because he was coming back from injury, but I didn't think he was that influential this game. Um,
No.
I thought he was actually one of the poor players on the side. Um, I don't know if it's injury or fatigue with the amount of minutes he plays, but
Yeah, I definitely want to see João Felix more again. He made an appearance for like 5 minutes for Cole Palmer, but um, I don't know. I think Palmer, let's just try him out wide, and he was
Mhm.
effective there last year, so why not try it again this year?
Yeah. And then I found it funny how he Vitor Pereira for Wolves switched Semedo and Ait Nori on the flanks to have Nori like guard Neto because I was like, Ait Nori's one of those that will fall asleep on you defensively.
Yeah. But Cucurella also, speaking of like changing positions, it was fun to see him in the playing like a center mid, and
That'll be his only time.
yeah, he it was entertaining, but I don't think he should be playing there.
Oh yeah, not at all.
But post game, dude, it was hilarious. Him with I guess Central C. I don't know if he's a Chelsea fan. I know you love Central C.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but him and Palmer were talking to Central C, and then Cucurella before he left, he was like, uh, "We can go Ben for Ben,
Oh
Quarterbill for
no.
Maybank." And dude, Cole Palmer was dying.
Oh gosh, cringe.
Dude, it was hilarious.
Such a dislikable dude
Cucurella, he's hilarious, bro.
for outsiders.
Dude,
Uh,
we're definitely Mandem FC. We're the goofiest squad, but again, I think the inexperience is kind of hurting us because that's where you see the immaturity at times when we're up dominating, but we let teams back into it. So I think just give it a little more time, we'll gain experience, but I'm really excited again for what we're building.
yeah, you guys are what, sitting in fourth still? Um,
Yeah, fourth.
yeah, so that's a good spot to be in, especially with everyone's expectations of you guys coming into the season. Um,
Hmm.
but to go to the Wolves squad,
Hmm.
I thought their center back, their new signing was really impressive. That Agbado dude.
Oh yeah, from Reams.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good. And then this was one of João Gomez's better games. I thought he looked really good. But his fellow Brazilian looked one of his quieter games in Matheus Cunha.
Yeah, Cunha looked kind of poor. He had Reece James a couple of times in the first half, but other than that, he was pretty quiet.
He also
Same
just
with
looked like he
Sariba.
lacked, yeah, Cerivas. He also looked, Cunha just looked like he lacked urgency at times this game. It was
Hmm.
weird.
He was just strolling around.
Hmm. I was surprised Cerriba kind of came right into the squad because I thought Gonzalo Guedes was having a pretty good past few games, so I thought he would keep his starting spot.
Mm-hmm. Acuna though, it's not good looks when you could tell he was getting really frustrated and he just kind of was totally disassociated from the game.
Yeah, that's the one. I think Cunha, he has, well, I don't want to speculate, but I feel like character issues at times, like getting into the fight after Ipswich game and then like at games where it doesn't go his ways, like you can really tell like that
Hmm.
he's not feeling it and he's not gonna really put in the effort. Um, I think that's the one. If I had to critique anything in this game, that'd be the one thing.
Yeah, and another player that I'm curious about is again, we haven't really he's played like 5 games, I think. I don't know, but youngster, Carlos Forbes from
Yeah,
Ajax. He's on loan, and I would think like on loan you want to make most use of him, and he's barely played. But I thought he could be a guy that comes on for either like Sariba or um, even like Semedo, uh, and like be a difference maker out in the wing.
yeah, because he has a lot of pace to him, so he could have caused Reece James some trouble. But
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, it's been surprising to your point. He's barely seen any minutes at Wolves.
Yeah, especially like with Reece James. Thankfully, Maresca saw like he needed a change there, so brought him off like with 20 minutes left in the game. But definitely Wolves could have capitalized there.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's gonna be one to keep an eye out on. Um, and also with Wang, um, his downfall this year has been quite crazy too.
Yeah, that's someone else that he comes on as like a sub only nowadays, and he's only bagged a couple goals, just not looking good.
Yeah.
But Wolves now are right above relegation. They're just winning against Ipswich on goal differential. So, considering that, which players do you think? Let's assume they get relegated. Who do you think uh, they have to kind of get rid of?
Cunha
And
Cunha will be the biggest for sure.
mhm.
And
if
then
dude, if Arsenal like considering all that we've talked about their attacking needs, if they don't go after Cunha hard, I
uh-huh.
mean hard, then
But did you see
they're
this?
not serious.
You see the story of which team is ready to apparently cash in, go splurge on Cunha?
Yeah, you said Nottingham, right?
Yeah. That'd be a crazy
Ooh.
pickup. Yeah, but Cunha is the biggest. And I think Ryan ate Nori. Um, but then also I like Strand Larson. I think he's a pretty good player. He did struggle this game, especially for being such a big guy. Like his hold up play was quite bad this game.
Hmm.
Um,
He also wasn't getting much serve. Like he touched the ball. I think I saw a stat where he touched the ball 15 times only, least among anyone on the pitch.
oh, okay. Yeah, but this is one of his game when he did get like an opportunity though. It was just like bad touches and
Hmm.
some giveaways. So this was one of his poor games, but from the other games, I'm actually a fan of Strand Larson.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, dude, Norway's got some scary strikers, dude. Him, Holland,
They only
Sola,
create, yeah, only create strikers.
and they all have like the same profile.
Exactly. Big,
Same
powerful
type of
guys.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's end this episode on just a quick recap of the table. We have Liverpool leading with 50 points in a game in hand. Then we have Arsenal and Nottingham both with 44. Then we have Chelsea with 40. City sneaking up now, 38 points in fifth. And then Newcastle at 38 as well. Bournemouth with 37. Then Villa 36. Brighton, Fulham. And we have to keep scrolling. Let's see if United shows up. Uh, we have Brentford at 11 with 28. Palace. and then United with 26. So you
You gotta
guys are,
keep well, you gotta keep scrolling for Tottenham.
yeah. Actually, I scrolled already. You guys are on the same page here. Then you have West Ham 14th, and right there, Tottenham 15, 24. So you say keep scrolling, but they're only a game behind Joe, 2 points behind. So it can switch there pretty easily. And then we have Everton and Wolves at 17 with 16 points. Ipswich at 18, Leicester, and then Southampton. Leicester's got 14, so Wolves are in a danger zone right now. Um, Especially now they got Wolves coming up. So, but I mean, Ipswich has Liverpool coming up, and Leicester's got Tottenham. So Leicester might move out of that relegation.
Yeah.
We'll see. I hope Wolves can pull through against Arsenal.
Yeah, Saturday there's some good fixtures. I think the best game out of that 10 o'clock window is Bournemouth Forest. Crazy, like nowadays, that's like the matchup
Yeah.
of the. But then 12:30 your boys taking on City away. That'll be entertaining. Also implications for top four.
Hmm.
Sunday, Villa West Ham will be an interesting one. Uh, like I mentioned before, Tottenham take on Leicester. Big ones for Ange's sake. Hopefully they win for his sake. And then we play a late one, Fulham against United at Fulham's.
And I don't see you guys getting points there either.
Yeah, the way Fulham's been playing, yeah, it'll be a tough one.
Um, but I also want to give a shout out to Sunday's fixture in the championship. I think the biggest game of the season between Burnley and Leeds. Um, Burnley is sitting at third with 56 points and Leeds at 59. It's usually the top two teams are automatically promoted, so it's a tight standing up there.
I think Sunderland are like close in terms of points too, or I might be mistaken.
Yeah, they're top four, so they would be in like the
Okay,
playoff. But yeah, points wise, they're only 5 points back from Leeds, so
gotcha.
it's close. But Leeds, shout out to fellow American Aronson, dude, who's been eating this year. 7 goals from the midfield.
Crazy.
Um, and then, did you want to give a roundup on any other games across other leagues? I know we were able to catch some Serie A games, or do you just want to kind of keep this at Premier League roundup?
Yeah, we can keep it at Premier League roundup, but I'll give you fixtures around the league. Saturday we got Atletico Villarreal. That's going to be the
Ooh,
biggest La Liga matchup, considering Atletico got upsetted against Leganes this past weekend in a shocker. Dort,
Griezmann.
yeah, unlike him. Dortmund play Werder Bremen Saturday. They'll have a new manager as their current manager got sacked. Saturday as well, noon, big one. We got Napoli versus Juve. And
Hmm.
then Sunday around the league, we also got La Liga Barca versus Valencia.
Wait, real quick. You said Nuri Sahin got sacked?
Yeah.
Oh, no way. So this is where you think Ten Hag might go?
Yeah, that's where I think he might.
Yeah, I see it. Yep, he got sacked. Shoot, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
Time to get Gittins, boy.
and
Up the
then
Chels.
Sunday, Barca Valencia La Liga, and then Serie A. The only really good game is in the afternoon. We got Lazio versus Fiorentina.
Ooh. All right, well, Valencia, they got a tough one against Barca, but dude, they're about to get relegated.
Yeah,
Insane.
that'll be sad. They got so much history. So
Hmm.
we'll see what happens there. But as always, thank you all for listening to another episode of Super Subs. Until next time, peace out.